Welcome back. And indeed, welcome to the Monster's Den Quickie. So, thank you for your support on these videos so far. Pete and I we've talked about doing them for the longest time, but we finally got around to actually launching them. We've used it so far as a platform to review kind of individual releases and talk about them. But if you've got any other ideas that you'd like to see us review in this kind of short format of 5, 10, 15 minutes, let us know. Stick it in the comments and let us know. But we'll crack on with this edition, shall we? So, as you will know from the subtitle below, we're going to be talking about 1945's classic, absolute stone cold classic, Dead of Night. The new 4K from Studio Canal with some gorgeous new artwork. This is coming out in America, so not the specific box, for this is a hard box. When you've got a hard box, you have to do this. It's one of the rules of YouTube, in case we're lying about it being a hard box. Um, this is coming out from Kino Lorber, so the exact same transfer and restoration, Kino Lorber in December. So only a few weeks really left to run before you can pick it up domestically if you are so inclined in that there America. So let's have a look at the packaging, shall we? So you do get a couple of posters. You get this nice kind of quad poster, which I love that. I adore that. It's got that gothic grotesquerie feel to it, doesn't it? This is actually the title card of the film, so this is the very start of the film. This comes up, which really sets a tone, doesn't it? And lets you know you're not just getting an ailing film here. It's not going to be, kind hearts and coronets. Although that's a darker film than people remember if they go back and look at it. But you're getting something, yeah, something a bit darker. But lovely quad poster there, although not quite as lovely as this quad poster. Look at that. 30 by 40 inches. I picked that up recently. I've got it nice and framed. Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde with blood from the mummy's tomb. Oh, yeah. And then you get another poster, which is just the new artwork, so I won't bother unfolding that. So, nice enough stuff there. And you get 64-page book, which again concentrates very much on the one particular segment of the film, including some horrific images from it, which will stay with you long after this film. And full cast and crew, and then it's a case of a few essays, which make up the 64 pages. And again, a lot of the run is concentrated on one particular segment, which is pretty much bigger than the film itself. This is very much the film with a mannequin in it for a lot of people, although for our purposes, it's slightly different. We'll go into it. Yeah, that gives you a rough idea what to expect from the packaging there. So, 1945, the war has literally just ended. This is September 1945, and no better time for a good horror movie, I suppose. Horror films were banned in the UK for a good number of years to keep up the spirit. They didn't want war to be brought down by a horror movie. You have to keep up the good spirit of a war, I suppose. So this was a bit of a comeback for the horror movie in Britain, and boy, what a comeback it is. It also births the anthology film, so it's not the first anthology film. There are a few entries in Germany in the 19s and the 20s, but certainly it's the one that births what we think of as the anthology film, where you have wraparound segments and then you have individual stories which are incorporated into the wraparounds with a denouement that puts them all in context. So, don't need to go into the whole thing here, especially because this is a film that I believe isn't quite as well known in America, so it's very much a check this one out, you're going to love it kind of affair. A guy is Walter, to give him his actual name, is played by the wonderful Mervyn Johns. Is a bit burnt out from city life, so his friend says to him, played by Ronald Culver. Why don't you come out to my place in the country and do a valuation on it? And, you know, basically we'll just spend some time together. So ostensibly to do a valuation on the old place, but more or less just to hang out and get your mind off your big city woes and hang out in the country for the weekend and take it easy. So here comes Mervyn Johns Walter just to do that. And when he sets foot in the front room, he says, "Whoa, I'm getting the weirdest deja vu here," he says. Not quite in that modern 21st century parlance, but he says, I'm kind of freaking out here, guys, because I'm looking around and I'm seeing all you guys in this room, for there are indeed six of them in the room. He says, I know every single one of you from my dreams. I've seen you as clear as you are standing in front of me in my dreams. So what the hell's going on here? Am I going mad? Because that's one thing he's already worried about, hence the need to get away from it all. Are these flash forwards, or is there a rational explanation? Now, everyone assumes that, of course, there's a rational explanation. Most of us are famous people in this room, or we've been in the newspapers for one reason or another. So that's how they kind of give us the segments of the film where they explain to Mervyn Johns how they probably are known to him. So here's the rational explanation. And by the way, I have strange dreams sometimes too. Here's one of mine, and that gives us the segment that they then present as a little anthology slice in a horror film for our delectation. So the segments themselves vary. We have one which goes for, again, I don't want to go into spoiler territory for this one above all, really, because it's so seminal that I think you should see this as fresh as possible. They go from kind of light-hearted uh, comedy version of horror, written by H.G. Wells, no less, about golf, which is my idea of a horror film, to creepy children that have been dead for over 100 years appearing in the house all of a sudden, kind of horror, to the one that we've seen on pretty much every bit of iconography in the booklet and whatnot, which is the most famous set piece in the film, which is one of the segments, Mako Redgrave, as the ventriloquist who has a dummy who may be a bit more independently minded than most ventriloquist dummies you'd care to name. So that segment is by far and away the most popular and the most well known and beloved of the segments of this film. But there's a reason for it. It isn't just good, it's great. And it isn't just great, it's iconic. And also, it's terrifying. That takes you to places where it does not let up. It absolutely does not let up. There are scenes in it that are absolutely unforgettable. So you think, well, okay, I've seen things about a, ventriloquist dummy run amok before, but there are scenes completely independently of the dummy, set in an asylum that completely get me every time I watch it. They freak me out. Gets the anxiety going. You need some beta blockers after you watch this. It is chilling. And that's, of course, what I think British horror does best is chilling. So not gore, not violence, but chilling, I think, is where British horror has always excelled, going back to, M.R. James. So as it proves to be here, what a brilliant, brilliant film, made by not one, not two, not three, but four of the best directors ever. So the film itself gives birth to the rise of the anthology film from Amicus in the 1960s, where they start to make these wonderful anthology films. But it also inspires much later than that Twilight Zone, the movie, because in that we again have an anthology film made up of pieces of old Twilight Zone episodes that are stitched together with a wraparound with Albert Brooks. But in that, each segment was directed by an A-list director, Spielberg, Joe Dante, John Landis, and George Miller. Well, in this case, we have Basil Dearden, Alberto Cavalcanti, Charles Crichton, and Robert Hamer. All four of them superstar directors of the UK at the time, directed so many of the Ealing greats, directed, in Crichton's case, wrote for Hitchcock, and Basil Dearden made some iconic, truly iconic British films throughout the 40s and 50s and 30s, come to think of it. Um, in one of the cases, Hamer, he was going right up until Fish Called Wanda, and that was what, 88, and this is 45. So, he was either very young here or very old there, and I'm pretty sure it's a combination of both, to be honest. So yeah, this is wonderful. In terms of the package itself, the restoration is terrific. It looks great. It sounds great. So there's no, which you do have to worry about on some old films. There's no sibilance, which is where S's start turning into. There's no slurring on the S's in this film at all. The audio is phenomenal. The picture's a little bit soft in some parts, but that's just the nature of an 80-year-old film at this point. Keep your hype stickers, folks. Keep your hype stickers. Um, the extras package, there's a couple of pieces that have been carried over from previous editions that are essential. We get a wonderful new documentary by Alice Lowe, a brilliant filmmaker. I've talked about her film Prevenge on a previous episode of The Monster's Den, and she goes into how this film inspires her as a filmmaker, but also in terms of how one of the themes of the film, which I won't even say what it is because I don't want to spoil even that, inspires her from a abstract point of view. So where she and this film both take inspiration essentially. So she talks about the film inspiring her, but also just in things she has in commonality with the film and how the she's taken away things from one aspect of humanity that this film also has. And then there's a wonderful new commentary by John Llewellyn Probert, who goes through the anthology horror, but doesn't just go through the anthology horror films, goes through the kind of history of anthology horror in terms of comics and most specifically in terms of books and how it's long been a format that's been of interest, to compile short stories and then come up with a clever way to wrap them all in a bow with a little twist at the end or a little nugget at the end just to kind of either freak you out or make you go, they got me, something just to give you a little wink on the way out the door. So, highly, highly recommended. In terms of the extras, I've already checked them out. Alice Lowe's piece will not be on the Kino, but I don't think you need to worry if you're in America because she's not really known there. So you will get a Tim Lucas commentary on that one. You won't get the same commentary, but Tim Lucas is Tim Lucas. You really don't need to worry. He's going to knock it out of the park on that, I'm sure. But yeah, iconic film. I've said iconic about 10 films, so legendary film. Film 101, really. A few weeks ago, I did a video on here for the channel on Curse of Frankenstein. For me, British horror, if you want to start with it, starts with Curse of Frankenstein, this, and the short stories of M.R. James. So if you want to get into classic British horror, M.R. James short stories, his three compilations of ghost stories. You probably just get them in one big omnibus these days. Curse of Frankenstein, and then this. That's your starting point, and then you can branch off 1,000 different directions from there. So yeah. Well, that'll do this for today, I think. Again, let us know how you think we can best use this format going forwards. Apart from, these quickie reviews and unboxings and whatnot, let us know how you think we can use this format going forwards. Comment below. And, I don't know when I'll next see you apart from the next episode, but that next main Monsters Den episode on November the 20th will be alien invasions. Now, whether that's aliens who are about to invade, or the aliens have been among us all along, or however we want to take it is however we take it. So we'll see how that goes when it happens. I'm not sure what else there'll be before then, but I'm sure one of us will have something to talk about before then. So you know the stuff by now, folks. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, all the damn time. I'm never as good at rattling that stuff off as Pete. So until then, this has been the Monsters Den. Thanks very much, folks. Check this film out. Let me know if you've seen it already. If you haven't, just check it out. Just see this film. It is, oh, okay. I'll say it one more time. Iconic.